You're listening to Life Check Yourself with life coach, transformational leader, and dating and relationship badass, Marnie Batista. Every week, you'll get the raw truth from top experts and real people on the important life and love issues you want to know about. So if you're ready to life check yourself in your relationships, your career, and the areas of your life that matter most to you, and you're not afraid to be called out on your stuff, then you're ready for what's next.
Life Check Yourself with Dr. Mary Giffara, understanding triggers and building lasting relationships. Ladies, welcome. You're going to love this one because we are going to talk to Dr. Mary Giffara. Did I say that right, Mary?
Giffara, like Jiffy Pop. Giffara.
I love that. She is so impressive. You're going to love when I tell you about everything that she has going on. Most excited, she has a book called 2x2 on the Arc, 4 Strategies for Lasting Love, that's coming out soon. We're going to talk about that. Her passion is enhancing and restoring relationships. She is a PhD. She is a board certified therapist. She's helped hundreds of couples to avoid divorce and restore their relationship. She is an international author, radio, TV presenter. She's been cited in the New York Times, the Kansas City Star, papers, magazines, and professional journals with her PhD. She's got a new book on the way that she's working on, and I'm just so excited to have you here to talk about relationships.
Right.
Okay, so first thing is, I would love to know when you came up with your book title and you were like 2x2 on the Arc. Like, tell me about that. I mean, I think that there's this belief that for some people that if we're not coupled up, if we don't have our pair, that, there's a flaw or that we're not going to be able to be successful in our life. And so tell me what's the story behind the title and writing this new book?
To be successful as a pair, you've got to be successful as a person first. 2 don't become 1, and another person doesn't make you. What makes a relationship fun is 2 separate people who sharing their individuality and differences, not one big glob. So that's the most important thing. It's funny you said that. You're either growing or dying, and relationships are either growing or dying as well. And so you're learning, living, creating, being a different you, and the other person is. If you know the other person, you got a problem. Because they don't even know.
Right, exactly.
They don't even know themselves.
Was it hard to come up with the 5 secrets? I mean, with all the work that you've done of hundreds of couples.
Well, no, it was really easy because my approach is not just intellectual, not just emotional. It's also somatic and physical. And and so it's kind of biological that we're in this body that has. The language of this body is sensation, and we have emotions, and we have our intellect. So the brain is the intellect is the brainstem. That's the smart brain that way. You can answer questions and so on. And you have the emotional brain, which is the limbic system. That's emotions. Reason obeys the laws of logic. Emotions do not obey the laws of logic. They're like the weather. It's sunny today, tornado tomorrow.
Right.
Kind of dry the next day, humid another day, same idea, only emotional. So if you think, stay the way you are, I love you like you, stay the way you are, it's a kiss of death. It's like saying, I always want spring. I mean, everybody always wants spring or fall, or summer, whatever if they're skiers, winter, but it just doesn't work that way. So you got to go with the flow, so to speak. So what I was saying is that we'll come with this brain, this triune brain, and it's the same. The intellect is human, but the rest of it, the limbic system and the brainstem are the exact same as the mammals and the little animals. So That's why you get the 2x2. And the problems that we get into are not our intellect. The problems we get into are because of those limbic system, those animal brains are the ones that get us into trouble. Because the reptilian brain, which is the brainstem, is about survival. It's breathing, eating, sleeping, or survival. And that's the brainstem. Then the limbic system is the emotional brain. That's like the mammals, same exact thing, same as the mammals. And then you have the smart human. But, think about two mammals without a limbic system. Just think of your dogs and cats. And some of the humans aren't as evolved as some of the dogs and cats. So anyway, so that's where the idea came from, that we need to know that we've got to deal with our own, our own thoughts, our own emotions, and our own sensations in order to have a good relationship, and not say, you make me sad. It's because of you. If I get sad, it's my sadness. You didn't make me sad.
Right.
You may have done things that triggered my sadness or my anger, but you didn't make me angry and you didn't make me sad. I got to take responsibility for my own. So I have 5 secrets.
Before you tell me the secrets, I want to ask you one question, and maybe this is part of the secrets, but I see a lot of people that stay in relationships. They're committed. They want to make it work. They're working on their stuff. And the same situation happens over and over and over again. And they get that reaction, and their partner may or may not change their behavior, but they keep getting triggered. What do you tell couples? Is this like something that is solvable? Do you tell people
what you just hit is the key?
Yeah.
You hit the key. You hit the key. Because what happens is you do something and it triggers something in me that predated you. Might be my mother, it might be my father, my last boyfriend, my last husband, my sister, my brother, my boss. It doesn't matter what it is. But it's something that you said, or something that when you said it, like an emotion or something you did, some behavior triggered me. It touched me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, you see a couple and someone just says a word and you see it change, or they look a certain way. So as soon as one person is interacting in some way and the other one is just sitting there in their own space, as soon as they react, whether it's intellectual, emotional, or in terms of sensations, it's because they got triggered.
Right.
So, if it's just a reasonable kind of thing, it's one thing. But if they react,
well, that's what I wanted to know. Like, how do our listeners identify what's reasonable and what's not reasonable? Because, from the outside, you hear someone tell the story, or at least I do sometimes. And I'm like, this is the same thing. Like, I don't know if this person is your person, or how long, I feel like you're not able to really be who you are in this relationship, or I'm not sure this person is working as hard as you. When you talk to couples, is there like a filter that people?
Give me one example of what you mean. Just one example.
Example. Okay. I have an example of a client of mine who is dating someone. He's got kids from another marriage, a couple of ex-wives with a couple of kids. And then the third kid, who's like 8. She's like a stepmom, but she doesn't want to be a stepmom. She's constantly triggered when the boyfriend, who they've been together like 5 or 6 years, spends a lot of time with the young son when he's with them. And she feels rejected. The thing, which I'm really excited to hear your answer, is these arguments escalate to where there's a lot of name calling and get out of my house and all that kind of thing. Right. And so it happens over every 2 months, right? It's like clockwork, right? She gets triggered. He gets triggered. It escalates. What would you say to that couple? Yes,
let me give you a little history of that couple. He said 4 previous marriages? Or 3?
3, I think. 2 or 3, yes.
Okay. So right off the bat, all of us come with baggage.
Yes.
Our family, our extended family, our mother, our father, our grandmother, and theirs. So we have those 4. Then you have 4 more families from these 4 marriages.
Right.
So right off the bat, and you have... I'd be inclined to think I need to know a history of, did they leave the relationship to go into another one? And then that means there's unfinished business. Does that make sense? Like, in other words,
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that they're fully divorced and they're separated, and the other partners are like
legally. You could be fully divorced legally, but emotionally still married.
Yeah, I have no idea.
In relationship later, and you're still emotionally. Well, if if here 4 relationships later, I'm still reacting to a battle from marriage 1, then I haven't finished that. What happens to us, we get triggered. Someone does something or says something when we were a kid. And anyone who says or does that, or something that smells like that, or feels like that, or sounds like that, or is a little bit like that, we're going to leave the present part of us is going to be in the past, whether it was a week, 4 years ago, or 40 years ago.
Right.
So we're here in 2024, but we're back in 2020 or whatever. So you need to know that. So what you need to do is, and that's where the most important thing is to leave space for love. Leave space. So
tell me more.
What you need to do, you react to something I say, whatever. I need to leave space. Okay, she just reacted. What happened to me? I just held my breath. Okay, so just take a breath. Look. Okay, and my first thought was, what's going on here? I say, okay, I'm getting revved up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel my feet on the floor. I'm going to put my butt on the chair. I'm going to sit against the chair. I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to try to come back home again because I'm triggered up there. So it's very important for me to leave space, come into my own body, stay in my own space, stay in my own emotions, my own thoughts, my own, my sensations, rather than fusing with them and doing this. The fusing that he does, she does. You have the fight that you've had 100 times over. She says this, he says that. You don't want that. That's just
right. So is there so if you're, and I'm not just about this client, but I know lots of people are in these long-term things where it's the same problem again and again and again. So when someone comes to you with that, is there a time where you say enough, or is it if you're committed, these things can be worked out? What do you say?
As soon as I see a couple, the first thing I'll see, she does something and he goes, oh, like that. Say, okay. I'll say, Charlie, what just happened? What was going on inside you? Well, she said that. She said X. And what happened to you when she said that? Well, I could feel it in my gut, or I wanted to walk away, I wanted to leave, or I wanted to shut down. So then I would need to talk to Charlie. What's that about? That I really triggered him. Whatever she said, she might not have thought it was anything. But to Charlie, it was a big deal. And it might be a big deal, not just about her, but his mother might have done the same thing to him, or his other wife might have done, his previous wife. Right. Or some teacher might have humiliated him or shamed him or minimized him. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so it's not about 2024. It's about 19 or whatever back then. We have triggers.
So what I hear you saying is that if you're with a couple, you're in a couple and you notice these patterns, your advice is, besides you guys need to buy the book, is that if both parties are willing to sort of go through this process that you said, recognize the trigger, come back home, actually try and solve the problem. And if that other person is like, this is a you problem, get over it. And there's not that partnership.
Time out. If somebody says this is a you problem, get over it, they're reacting and they're triggered.
Yeah. So the reactions to the reactions are reactions.
Because if you're not triggered, you'd say to yourself, oh, this is his shtick. I'm not even getting involved. And just sit there and listen and let him do his thing. And don't react to it. It's not about you. It's his thing. It has nothing to do with you. But if you get in there, and try to fix it or take it or run away from it, get reactive, then you got a reaction. We got to deal with both of you. It's not just his issue. Whatever it is that him triggers you.
Yep. I love that. Okay, let's go back to the 5 secrets. I mean, you probably don't have time to tell us all 5, but if you were to pick your top 2, because I want everyone to get the book. I want everyone to go in the show notes and get 2 by 2 on the arc, 5 secrets of a great relationship. But what are 1 or 2 of the secrets
the most important is I use love, LOVE, to remind them. The first one, L, is leave space for love. That's what we were just talking about. Space for you to be you, space for me to be me, space for us to be us. So leave space for love is the most important thing. Second one is O, L-O, is operate your brains to love. Mm-hmm. And that means we have 3 brains: smart cerebral cortex, the language is reason, limbic system, the language is emotion, and the brainstem, the language is sensation. Because I'm communicating on all different levels. Some people just communicate emotionally. He may be very intellectual and rational, and I'm being, I could flip it around and be the other gender.
Yeah. You're just giving examples.
I'm just saying, he's intellectual. Everything is, he's so rational. She's so emotional. And so she's got all the emotions. No. Or he acts out, he drinks, or he doesn't drink, or she does this or whatever. They have affairs. That's acting out. But what I'm saying to you is he's got emotions just as much as she does. She's got thoughts but what happens that they fuse and he becomes the thinker and she becomes the feeler for both of them. And that doesn't work. And one of them becomes the
Say more.
And so every time there's a problem and they both react emotionally, but she reacts emotionally, he focuses on her emotions and starts to be reasoning with it. So then she gets more and more emotional and she's feeling it because
that is the worst. That's the worst when you're having an emotion or I'm having an emotion and my husband's trying to solve the problem, like with his intellect, right?
But you know what?
And I'm like, come on, man.
You have more control. You feel more of a sense of control with reason. With emotions, remember I said thoughts obey the laws of logic. Emotions do not obey the laws of logic. So if you want to feel in control, you don't go for emotions, you go for reason or behavior, right? I mean, and in many times, say women are more emotional, men are more. No, that's baloney. That's not true. They're both. If he doesn't have emotions and she doesn't have thoughts, then they both have unfinished business in themselves that they have to work on. She has to think,
because we all have all the parts.
Yeah, so
it's just about accessing it.
He's the big thinker and she's the big feeler, and something comes in. I'll always say to her, "What do you think about that?" And I'll say to him, well, "What are your feelings about that?"
Then they're like, it's like the onion, right?
And then he might want to respond with a thought. I say, "Okay, your thoughts are this, and what's your feelings about it?" And she might respond with the feeling. I say, "Okay, but what are your thoughts about that? He does this, and you feel that. What are your thoughts about it?" So it's just you have to leave space, operate your brain. So you leave space for you and me, reason, emotion, sensation. All three. Don't mix them all up. And then that's leave space, operate your brain. Next is view your conditioning. We're all conditioned by family most, by gender, by culture, by family very much. Like, I'll never do what my father does or my mother does, or if she do that to me, I'm going to marry someone who's the complete opposite. Well, the opposite's always the same.
Right.
Whenever somebody marries the opposite, they've married the same. They're just seeing the other half.
What does that mean? That you're marrying the same? You mean you're marrying someone like you, but you're just seeing the unexpressed parts of you or the parts that aren't as developed? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, what I'm saying is what I might show the world is just parts of me.
Right.
I don't show them the whole package. Maybe certain people see the whole package, but everybody doesn't. And so I want to present a certain kind of package, so I'll present that. But I have other unfinished business that I'm not presenting. Do you know what I mean? Like even like you take. So and people, we tend to unintentionally be attracted to something that's familiar. I can remember I met my husband and I was just walking. The first time I was walking down the street with him. I didn't know this guy. I just walking down the street side to side. We were just both walking straight ahead. And I remember thinking, I liked his energy. It wasn't sexual. I just liked his energy.
He had a good vibe.
And I said, I'd like to marry somebody like that because he felt, I don't know, calm and he, in some ways, my father was a very different personality, but he had a similar energy. Like I felt safe. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So when you say you marry your opposite, they're a part of you that's underdeveloped, or a part of you that you want. Or that is familiar.
There may be parts that are similar too, that you like to have someone personality with. But there may be things in them that you really like, that you like to develop. And that's the good part of a relationship is that I can develop my undeveloped parts of me, and you can develop your undeveloped parts of you from one another. Like I may have certain, attributes, abilities, ability to deal with things that you don't, and you may have other ones that I don't. So it's like that's how you grow. And the other way you grow is that when you hit into this, it helps you to get in touch with your unfinished parts. Your question was, what happens if? Well, okay, so what you do if your partner says or does something and you react? Leave space. Don't react to him or her. Leave space. Say, what's going on with me? What just happened? I was perfectly fine. And all of a sudden, I just felt triggered. And you might even say, wait a second, I just got triggered. I don't know what just happened. Or something, let me take a break. I'm going to go get a glass of water, have a cup of tea. I'll come back in 5, 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes. But I just need to, especially if you're getting very reactive. You know what? As soon as you start to feel, take a break. Leave space. Don't, because nothing good's going to happen when you're reactive. Nothing. There'll be no reason in there at all.
Yeah, last night
there was a fight. That's the old tried and true fight. Like, we've been here before.
Yeah, so last night my husband came to pick me up. There was a road closure, so I was waiting at the airport for like 2.5 hours because the road was closed, and he was driving for like 5 hours to try to get there. And
well, what you need to know, you both were at your lowest level.
Oh my God, we were depleted to zero. Anyway, and I asked him about something with his new job that he was doing. Then I asked him another question. He was so good because he was like, "This is not a conversation that we're going to have right now."
Brilliant.
I know. And I was like, Come on, man. I want to pick a fight. And I felt myself just being like, okay, I could say something snarky back, like every bone in my body. Mary wanted to be like, well, fine then. When do you want to talk about it or something like that? But I was just like, right. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling stressed. But it took, I spent the whole rest of the night kind of like being quiet because I didn't want to pick the fight, but I also didn't want to like, provoke another fight. Right. Okay. Right. And so when couples are doing that and
what it tells me to do in my book, what you just told me, that situation is an example of what I'm leave space.
Woo, woo, go Jeremy. Woo, woo.
You got to tell them, leave space for love, operate your brains to love, do your conditioning. Well, you knew the old fights, so that was your conditioning. I'm sure you know what the old ones. You know what I mean? That's the name of the game. Leave space, operate your brains, where you conditioning emerge free to love and then navigate in stormy seas. So that's to make you a lover. So what you guys did is exactly what the book is about.
Okay. Well, today I need to kind of get over it and revisit the conversation.
Well, you could.
Now that I'm a little more rested.
Well, the way to do that would be to say, the other day I was really pissed off. I was really pissed off. Do you know what I mean? Or when I was annoyed, or what was that all about? And if you want to talk about it, and just try to say, well, I was stressed. I was stressed because I'm waiting. I'm going to miss my plane. Well, I was stressed because 5 hours. I wanted to go home and watch a football game. You know what I mean? I just was. So you got to give yourselves a break.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think this is really good because the fact that one of the people in the relationship, in this case, my husband, could be I call it like being the grown up, right? Like his prefrontal cortex got online.
You got to tell him. I give him kudos.
I'm going to tell him you said that. But I think what happens is that we don't follow these sort of protocols, and we end up like a 5-year-old, version of yourself gets in a fight with the 7-year-old version of your partner. And then it goes on.
You hit the nail right on the head. What you said was exactly it, because you maybe when you were, we'll say 8, your mother was supposed to pick you up from school and she didn't come. Or you missed an important party because somebody did something wrong. And for him, it was something else. Do you know what I mean? So it's always the little kids who get triggered. And the little kids respond like little kids, 8, 10, 3, 2, 12, 14, and you can even see it. So sometimes you have to laugh. I remember my husband, we'd have also would be like 2 10-year-olds. And would be in like 2, and I remember putting my hands on my hip and saying, "You think you're so great," and then he laughed and did the same thing because that's what we would do. You think you're so great. I mean, we weren't adults. So if you do it in a
but that's what we do, right?
We all do that. I mean, you see the
so
fights
is there ever a
sometimes.
situation,
They're not exactly
Mary, where
adult
you're
fights,
talking
'cause
to a
the kids are out.
couple?
And I don't mean children. I mean your inner children. I don't mean your biological children. I mean your inner.
Of course.
Yeah.
Is there ever a situation where you're like, this couple shouldn't be together? Like, is there ever, do you really think that if people got together, then they have the capacity to stay together, or no?
Yeah, I think, here's what it is.
Yeah.
I think that, like if somebody is constantly having affairs and mistreating and abuse or anything like that, time out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When, the first abuse, the first physical is the last. You know what I mean? You just put a boundary up so you don't get involved in all. Now, emotional, it's also, but we can work on that one. I mean, if it's just continually emotionally abusive, no. So what I'm saying is that you need to know if something is unpleasant for you, don't stay and get into a fight over it. Say, I need to take a break. I need to clear out what's going on. That just didn't feel good. And I need to get away for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you need to get home to yourself and say, well, what just happened? And was it, and is he really out of line, or is I reacting to my older brother who used to do that? You know, and so that's what I'm saying. But it's leave space. It's so important. Then operate your brains, like what's going on here. Then view your conditioning. If you were conditioned that men are supposed to do this, women are supposed to do this, and he does it, you're going to react and say, wait a minute, this is not objective truth. This is my conditioning. You know, my mother was home. Well, I give an example, even myself again.
Yeah.
When my mother was a nurse, she went to work when I was 18 months old. My husband's mother was a stay-at-home mom who would come home from her friend's house at lunchtime to make lunch for Bobby. So you see the difference. And then I was home for 5 years, and then I went back to school and work and all that. My husband was accustomed to me, his mother, and me too, having dinner, and he'd have to come home and start dinner. Do you know what I mean? So it was adjustment for both of us. You know, my father would do it, my brothers would do it, but he didn't. What are you talking about?
How many years have you been married, Mary?
Well, he died 8 years ago, but we would have been married. We were married many, many years. We had our 50th wedding anniversary together. We always said we grew up. We were like kids, and we grew up together. And it's true. We did grow up together. I mean, you do grow up.
Yeah, you know, definitely. What do you think if you were going to say, like, I know that
4 kids and 8 grandkids.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do the kids say? Couple goals.
I have 2 granddaughters who are in graduate school at Stanford. I have one at NYU, one at Princeton. I mean, they're really
amazing. And do they come and do they say, Grandma, I'm having a situation in my relationship. What should I do?
Well, they sort of they a little bit they'll say that, but I have one daughter lives in France. And her granddaughter, my granddaughter, spent a year with us, and she really did. You know, she would talk. Yeah, in fact, she and I used to go on trips, and it was after that she started being a world traveler. You know, after the trips, you know,
I love that.
We live in France in a little town, you know, and so I took her on a couple of trips, and she got the bug, and she went to school in India. She's in Morocco. She's all over the place.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and
good for you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you about the R in this love map, the route and navigate life's storms. Yeah.
Because you know what? No matter who you marry, no matter how much you love each other, stuff happens. Life happens.
Yeah.
Things happen, and you have to deal with sad things. There's death, there's sickness, there's 50 million things. Temptations. I mean, all kinds of stuff. People want to grow up and do different things, or change careers, or not be a stay-at-home mom, or stay home. I mean, it's like who you marry today is not who you're going to have 5, 10, 15 years later. You're not going to be, hopefully, it'd be terrible if it was the same person 5 or 10 years later. Like,
right. So what do you say? So when someone is like in that situation and they're like, you know, have I outgrown this person, or what do I need to remember to continue to orient, to navigate?
Okay, it's when you talk about outgrowing, okay, here we are, here I am. What's missing in my life? How can I get it? And how is it because of our relationship? You need to talk about it. You don't just go from living with somebody to outgrowing them. I mean, it takes a few years to outgrow. You know what I mean? Even your shoes, it takes a while to outgrow them. So if it takes a year to outgrow your shoes, well, you should at least have, you don't go from everything's perfect to a year later, it's awful. You need to be on the spot. You say, yeah, it didn't feel good. What was that about? I felt sad about that. Hey, what's going on with us? Don't you notice we're kind of distant? We're not affectionate. You talk about whatever's going on at the time. You don't wait 10 years.
Yeah, I love that.
If you don't like this, you don't like it, or what, or I'm tired of this, or, whatever. I'm tired. We always go to the same restaurant where you want. I'm sick of it. Let's go someplace else.
So it's like not letting things fester, as they say.
Just to have an open relationship. This is who I am today, and I'm sharing it with you. This is who you are too. Who I'll be tomorrow is different. Hopefully.
I love that. Amazing. Well, you are so inspirational. You definitely walk the talk, and you have so much experience in all your clinical work, the books you've worked on, the research you've done, the real life couples that you've worked with. I feel so honored to have had you on the show and share all of that, plus your own amazing marriage and all your legacy. I think that's such a huge thing too, right? Like creating this legacy of love. Before we go, you have a new book that you're working on? Did you tell me?
Two-Career Family, How to Create Space and Shape Time to Work, Love, and Play. Because with two-career families, it's very different. You just have to, and for my poor husband, his mother was staying, he didn't have a clue. With me, it was easier. But with nowadays, many couples are, and some guys, my mother would never let my father lift a hand. Well, if you're both having a career,
all hands on deck.
It's not gender related. I don't think there's anything on it anything that says gender related. If you're skillful in certain things, then do that. My husband was better with some of these nails and all that kind of thing. I didn't know much about that, and he liked to learn. So, but. You got to do it together. Do you know what I mean? It's not just this is women's work and this is men's work.
I love that. Well, we'll definitely keep an eye out for your new book. And in the meantime, we're going to have a link to the book, 2x2 on the Arc, 5 Secrets of a Great Relationship. You definitely want to look at this love map. I think the biggest takeaway for me is really understanding that while our brain wants to blame our partner and run away, that we have to be aware of the different parts of our brain and come to our highest, best self and navigate through the storms, because that's life. Because if you're thinking the grass is greener, Mary's here to tell you, love your own grass.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Love it. And take care of your own grass too.
Take care of your grass.
Fertilize it and water it.
Even in winter.
Some sunlight, even in winter. That's really, really what you said about the grass was a brilliant metaphor. I love it. So
I'm a metaphor queen, Mary. If you ever need a metaphor, you call me.
Leave space for your grass, because if it starts going all over onto my cement, I'm not going to be happy about it, or onto my property. So you're going to have to boundary your grass too.
That's great.
Have a little space.
So fun. Awesome. Ladies, the name of the show is called Life Check Yourself. Well, we'll just call it Life Check Your Grass today. Really, we really looked at on this episode really like a filter, a checklist, right? So if you're listening and you're like, wow, I am having the same argument over and over with my partner, or I am constantly looking for reasons why this guy isn't for me, that old life check yourself mantra, point the fingers back at yourself. We've got so many helpful, actionable strategies that we talked about today. Check out the book, share this with your friend that's annoying, complaining about her husband all the time, and be like, girl, maybe it's you. In the meantime, you can,
it may be both of you, but you can only change one person.
Exactly. Exactly. This one, exactly. Me. We also learned today that Jeremy is good in conflict. So I'm definitely going to tell him that. Make sure you follow me, Marnie Batista _. Do you want to know about your unique personality type that might be predicting your future? And is the future you want? Make sure you check out our Decode Your Destiny quiz at decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And we'll see you next time. Remember, life check yourself. Bye-bye for now. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Listen, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to know you're not alone. And you don't have to settle for it. I've created a free quiz to help you pinpoint what's draining your energy and exactly how you can fix it. So head over to decodeyourdestinyquiz.com and take the 60-second quiz right now. That's decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you can book a free no-obligation consultation at marnibatista.com/private coaching. That's Marnie, M-A-R-N-I, Batista, B-A-T-T-I-S, as in Sam, T-A.com/private coaching, all one word. Let's take the first step to creating a life you love on your terms. I'm Marnie, and I'll see you next time.